Hello everyone, this is Under the Mayo, and before the podcast starts, I want to say a few things. This podcast was recorded on May 9th, almost a week before the current update apocalypse that we're facing. We aren't discussing it here because it hadn't happened yet. I was waiting on the art to finish before publishing, and then all the madness happened. It felt weird to just upload this 2-hour program talking about our history with Doom and our love for the game, when there are so many people upset with the current state of the game. I thought about scrapping this altogether, to be honest. We talked it over as a group and decided that this was too fun of a program to just throw away. We wanted to do something fun for the community here, and now that community is on fire, so it feels much less relevant. I'm hoping that these issues get sorted out quickly. Now, as to the question of whether we'll be discussing the drama in another episode, I don't know. This program wasn't necessarily started with the intention of making more installments, though we do have some ideas with potential. This might just be a one-episode thing. If we do make more episodes, you can be sure that the controversies will have their time under the light to be discussed. There are a lot of passionate opinions out there about what's going on, and people are pissed. I'm inviting you to put that all aside for a couple hours and enjoy a really fun talk between 3 Doom players of different backgrounds, and let us know what you think of the program and if you'd like to see more. So without further ado, here is the Ketchup, Mayo, and Spud Unofficial Doom podcast. Hello everyone, this is Under the Mayo, and I'm joined by Ketchup.
What up, mate?
PND Ketchup, sorry.
That's all right, no worries.
Also, I have TheSpudHunter here.
G'day, fellas.
Hello. So this is a bit of a Doom podcast that we're putting together to just kind of talk about Doom Eternal or Doom 2016, old Doom, and just, have a nice, lovely chat. So, how are you guys doing today?
Yes, I totally did not wake up 10 minutes ago. I've been awake for ages. Yeah, it's definitely been it's interesting trying to sync this call up with just the sheer location difference between the three of us.
Yeah, we are representing the whole planet right now.
We are all around the world. We're each separated by like 8 hours, right? Something like that.
Well, what time is it for everyone? Right, it's 11:15 in the morning for me.
It is 5:15 in the morning for me.
Yeah, 8 p.m. here.
Oh my god, that really
I got
is
the easy one.
No, I set this thing up, so I figured I'd make the sacrifice. I'd be the 5 a.m. guy, so that's fine.
Appreciate it, bro.
Well, even though me and Doom go back a long time, I'm still kind of the new guy around here, so I want to start with you guys. So you guys have actually met each other, right? Tell me about that.
Yes, we first met at QuakeCon. Was it? It was a couple of QuakeCons ago, Spud.
It'd be 2018.
Yeah, I think so. Well, it was in the Quake Champions days, and not to suggest that Quake Champions is still not going, because it certainly is with the Quake Pro League and all that stuff. But when Quake Champions was like the absolute main thing, there was no sort of Doom in the spotlight at that time, and we were all like super into Quake. I was at QuakeCon commentating the competitive Quake Champions event that was out there. Spud was out there, took part in the sort of community. We had a community day first of all, because back then 2v2 was the main game mode of that year, before Duel kind of took the spotlight again afterwards. And it was a really fun day. We kind of collectively commentated some of the BYOC stuff for some of the different games, and the Quake Champions Community Day was a lot of fun, and it was a very chill environment. QuakeCon's always a good time, and it is unfortunate yet understandable that QuakeCon's not happening this year.
Yeah, no, very unfortunate. QuakeCon for me is like a very big part of my journey with the whole Doom and Quake streams that I've committed to over the last couple of years, and meeting Ryan and a whole bunch of the other casters, Zoot Jahar, Jason Kaplan, in 2018, they took me under their wing a bit, and Ryan and Zoot would give me a lot of tips on presenting in front of a professional, camera and crew and all that kind of stuff, and it really helped with my streaming prospects as well, so I always really appreciate that, Ryan. But that was how we met, and I think the one time you blew me away with your passion for Doom, I don't think it was 2018, it was 2019. You made that controller for Doom.
Oh, the fight stick.
Yeah, the fight stick. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so good, man.
That was that was very much I don't know if anyone's. I'll send Mayo a picture if anyone's interested. But I put together
I'm pretty sure I remember it. But we'll please put up a picture of that recently, so anyone who listens to this can go check it out.
Yeah, it's I just put together because for those that don't know, I follow fighting games a lot, and I'm involved in the competitive fighting game space, of which, by the way, I'm not the only one in this call that is, but that's a conversation for maybe a bit later.
Yeah, I think I have a note. We'll briefly touch on that.
So I just put together a fight stick, right? Just a portable arcade stick that some people use. I use fight stick for some games, and I just modded it, just turned it into a Doom Eternal one, pentagram buttons, red and black buttons.
Wait, you made a video about that, didn't you? Using it?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, I remember that now.
I made a video where I was playing Doom games using it, and it went better than expected, all things considered.
Have you tried Doom Eternal with it?
No,
that sounds like it would be ridiculously difficult.
I think I'm out of buttons. I could try it though sometime.
So, what is your guys' history with first-person shooters? Like playing them seriously, whether it's professionally, competitively, or just when you realized that the first-person shooter genre was a genre of game that you really have a passion for?
Well, for me, believe it or not, it genuinely started with Doom when I was. I don't know. It's like, how do you remember this far back? But it's hazy memory. But it was the foundations of my gaming career, I guess. My old man got into Doom in the early 90s, and I was 3 years old.
Right.
When the game came out, and I genuinely did the old one button plays. I was the guy who we worked as a team, a duo, and I'd press the shoot button while he'd do all the moving around and whatnot.
It didn't scare you as a kid?
Do you know what? Doom 2 did. And you know why? The Revenants. They terrified me as a kid. I have vivid memories of seeing like hallucinations of them. When you're you're a kid and you sort of imagine your worst fears come into reality. I had that. I had Revenants chasing me and stuff, in my nightmares and whatnot. And maybe it was probably not the greatest age to get a kid into gaming, but even with the graphics being that low back then, low-fi, kids' imaginations are pretty bright and wild.
Yeah.
But it was all to do with Doom, and I grew up with all the golden oldies, Quake 2, all the id Software titles, and that evolved into Half-Life, Valve titles, your Duke Nukems and whatnot from 3D Realms. I could list the whole list, but
sure.
It all started with Doom for me, and it's just been an ongoing passion. And I guess a couple of years back, I ended up doing some streams for a laugh, and here we are.
Yeah, I got into it around a similar time. My first one was actually Wolf 3D, Wolfenstein 3D, around 1992. My dad had a work PC. And so I played around with that, just as barely even able to remember. I was so young, but then I took a bit of a break from shooters. I didn't have a passion for it. I just loved that game a lot, and then I got into Quake 2, and that's where it really started for me. Ketchup, you?
You know what? I think we all have a very similar background because my dad, my history with FPS. It's certainly not in a competitive sense. I've never been a competitive FPS player. I've been highly competitive in other games, but FPS was always just the kind of genre that I always just really loved playing, but just never knew an avenue to get involved in competitive. So I kind of just stayed clear and stuck to the fighting game scene, which is what I got involved in first. But on the subject of Doom, my very first serious proper FPS that I think really got me hooked was Doom 64 on the N64. My dad used to play it, but because Doom 64 was much more emphasized on horror than action, I know the old Doom games did scare some people, but there was like, I guess, less of a horror element compared to Doom 64, which was like all atmosphere, extremely dark and gritty, like, you know, unsettling sound effects and all that stuff.
So
I was terrified of it.
the horror is what appealed to you.
It certainly kept me hooked, but it was I'd never played anything like it before, and because I'd come straight off like Super Nintendo, because my first proper console was, I guess, an Amiga, and then Super Nintendo to follow that with NES. But we didn't have a lot of money growing up, so we only had a few games per system, and then we get the N64, which I guess my mum brought off my cousin for Christmas or something, but he had loads of games, and he just gave all the games to her, and one of them was Doom 64, and my dad would play it as well because they were separate, and we would more watch him play it because I was too scared at a young age to play Doom 64. And I'll never forget like his struggle for a couple of weeks where he just couldn't beat the Absolution, like that final level, because he didn't have all the demon keys. He didn't even know about the secret levels because none of us knew about it. And then he comes to us one week as like happy as anything, and he's like, "Boys, I've done it." And we're like, "You beat the level?" He's like, "Yeah." Turns out he used the big cheat and gave himself like infinite health, infinite ammo, all the weapons. But to him, that was a great achievement because like it's a different culture. But back then, like he discovered the cheat code and used it. And the act of discovering the code was enough effort for him to be like, I earned that playthrough. I won. Because, you know, he had no gaming, you know, he wasn't really a gamer back then. He just played Doom 64.
Well, it's kind of like finding out all the Mortal Kombat fatalities on your own or something, you know?
Basically. Well, honestly, yeah, that's what it is. That's what it comes down to. But yeah, other than that, honestly, Doom has always been my favorite FPS. Quake shortly follows it because I grew up with Quake on a console standpoint. So I played Quake, all the Quakes on N64. PC gaming on FPS was definitely before my time because there was 3 of us growing up, right? So it was much more cost effective for my mum to have us have a console to share rather than a PC that has to be able to run games. My PC could barely run Worms World Party when I was a kid, you know what I mean? So it was definitely my classic games that really stuck with me and got me to love FPS was Doom, Quake, and Turok. Turok was a huge one.
Right, because you were on Nintendo 64. Yeah, that makes sense.
Correct. Turok Rage Wars, I think, honestly, probably has a hidden seed in there, which is why I love Arena FPS now, I think, because Rage Wars I played more than any multiplayer shooter as a kid. Rage Wars had to be my most played. That game was so good.
That's awesome. I left Doom for a long time. Doom was always that game that I played like for like a day at my uncle's house out of state, and it fascinated me. But we didn't actually have it at home, but I would find myself like dreaming about it, or as a kid I would like fantasize about like if I died and went to hell with a BFG, but I didn't actually have the game, and I don't know why, but it never even occurred to me to ask my parents to get it. Like it was just like that weird game that I played a couple of times every once in a while at a neighbor's house or wherever. But I had my Nintendo, my Sega, my PlayStation, and we had a PC, but I just never said, hey, let's get Doom. I don't know why it never occurred to me. And so I only played it periodically through, I'd say, the first half of my life. I had a deep love for it, but I didn't actually have it. And like, you know, when I was like in my teens, like I downloaded it off on Napster or whatever, like, and I played it on Windows 98, and I was like, oh, Doom, awesome. But I only played it for like a day or so, and then I let it go. And it wasn't till not even maybe 5 or 6 years ago that I was like, you know what, I kind of feel like playing Doom. And I went and I got it, and got Final Doom and Doom 2, and I just rediscovered my old love for it, because I was really into Quake back in the day, you know, loved Duke Nukem, but Doom was just something that I loved but didn't have, and I decided to finally sit down and play through it, classic style, keyboard only, and I was just like, this is the greatest thing ever. And then I went into the black hole of user WADs and Brutal Doom and all that stuff, and then just a couple years later, Doom 2016 comes out, and it's just like I'm in now. You know, it's just great, and it's really cool that you guys all have kind of a similar story of discovering the old id games at a young age. That's really cool.
I mean, it's such a man, it's such a legendary franchise that I think surely for it to have the status it has, there has to be, millions of people around the world that have similar backstories. Because as long as loads of us, people of our age group, as long as we've been alive, Doom's existed, and we all. I'm 28 now. I was a 90s kid. I think if you grew up in the 90s, you almost were guaranteed to play Doom in some capacity, or one of the legendary old FPS franchises. And Doom is still going, right? Still going stronger than ever. So
it's very much a generation. It's very much a generational thing, but also like with Doom back in the 90s, I remember seeing an article on the internet discussing the fact that Doom was possibly like a good sample of what would be the first viral product, if that makes sense. You know how we get like viral videos, viral this, viral that, like floppy disks being copied and shared around in offices. It was sort of like the genesis of virality.
Doom, the first technology meme.
Shareware. Yeah, pretty much,
Wasn't there some stat where more people had Doom than Windows or something back then?
There was a point.
I'm sure I heard that.
Yeah, there was a point when that happened. It shut down businesses. Like managers had to put out company-wide memos telling everyone to stop playing Doom because all the tech offices completely stopped. Like, one of my favorite bands is 9 Inch Nails, and there's a story, I'm pretty sure it's true, there's a story that in the production of 1994's The Downward Spiral that Trent Reznor got delayed for months because he just kept playing Doom. Like, I mean, I can't blame him, like, I'm sure everyone just stopped what they were doing to play this revolutionary game, and it's not just a first-person shooter. I mean, it's like it's as iconic as Mario, like it's the Mario first-person shooters, it's the Mortal Kombat of first-person shooter. I mean, these games came out, they changed the whole world, and they continue today.
Amen.
Yeah. So let's move on to our new game. How did you guys experience Doom Eternal on day one? Did you celebrate in some way? Did you order your favorite pizza or get your favorite drink? I got myself a big 12-pack of Cherry Coke. And how did it feel finally playing it after a couple of years of anticipation? Spud, how about you start?
Well, for me, I guess I cheated a little because I got a couple hours extra early access.
Right. I didn't consider that my question.
Thing. Yeah, with the day before. But it's still the same. Like, for me, when I got to preview the game months back before release, it was playing the first 3 levels of the campaign. So I was really excited to see what's past that point. You know what I mean? Like, get my hands, dirty with it. And
those are 3 big levels too. That's a lot.
Yeah, definitely. But I just remember seeing all the footage of like Sentinel Prime and whatnot in the trailers, and I'm like, I want to go there. I want to be there. That looks amazing. It's so otherworldly. And on the first day, I agreed. Like, it was a really amazing opportunity. I'm so thankful to Bethesda. They put me part of like the stream team for the launch, which is like the Raise Hell week, and there's a whole list of streamers, and myself and Bite Me were the first 2 on the roster. But in agreement with that, I had to get up at about 3 a.m. and then stream at 4. So I was I guess sort of training the days leading up to it, getting some good rest, and it went hard, man. I did the whole typical sort of like gamer no life sort of situation where I had like all the energy drinks around me and packets of this, packets of that. Just didn't get up, just smashed it.
Dude, I baked 3 lasagnas over a 5-day weekend.
Yes.
Ketchup, what did you do?
Yes, it's a similar, because I'm a content creator and I've been doing a whole bunch of different videos for Doom and stuff like that. I did, similar to TheSpudHunter, get access to Eternal a few days before launch. However, in my situation, I actually used that time to put together a full review for Doom 64, the new version of Doom 64 that came out with it as a pre-order. Excuse me, sorry, as a pre-order. So I purposefully avoided playing Doom Eternal until launch because I wanted to stream day one, and I really, really wanted my reactions to be genuine, and I didn't want to have seen anything that I hadn't already played. The stuff I had already played, again, similar to Spud, was I also got invited to a content capture session a few weeks before that, which was the exact same build. It was the first 3 levels, and that's where it kind of ended. That build ended there. My run actually ended right as you get the super shotgun and stop playing as the Revenant. So that was as far as I got, and then I had to wait for launch. But on day one, I mean, it was just a celebration stream. I pretty much did an all-day stream, played as much as I could. Obviously, I didn't actually get through the whole game in one day because it's a long game if you're doing a first playthrough.
I don't know if anyone did.
Yeah, it was so much longer than any of us expected, right? Like, it really did go on, but every level was good. Like, I really don't think there were any, kind of like dud levels that I didn't enjoy. And so I just kind of completely just lived and breathed Doom Eternal for a couple of days. I definitely ordered some food because I'd rather play Doom Eternal than cook food on launch. We just kind of, to be honest with you, it was actually quite a tame celebration. I was just happy to have the game at last. We'd all waited 4 years to be able to play a new Doom game because I was completely rinsing the multiplayer for Doom 2016 all the way up until Eternal came out. I played Doom 2016's multiplayer from launch up until right at the end because it's been my favorite kind of multiplayer experience in, I think, probably ever, if we're talking about FPS. And one of the reasons as well, actually, I didn't play Eternal before I had, while I had those couple of days, I didn't play it because the battle mode servers weren't live. And I knew 100% that I really wanted to focus my content more on battle mode than single player, because Doom's multiplayer has always been my absolute thing if we're talking about content, and I didn't want to really get hands on until the servers were live, and I had to wait until launch for that. So quite a tame experience for me, to be honest.
We all, the three of us, we all produce, I think, very different content for a game. I think that we are equally passionate about a series that we're equally passionate about. You focus more on the multiplayer side of things. Spud, how would you characterize your content? Or I guess I would say mine is more like the analytical side of the game. How would you describe the stuff that you put out?
A bit of a mixed match of I guess sweaty gameplay with also being a bit of a clown and trying to sort of put on a show at the same time.
Entertaining and strategy.
Yeah, pretty much. And I do a mix of the multiplayer and the single player. I've never had a major focus on speedrunning, although it's something I'm slowly warming up to, and sort of having little attempts here and there. But I've grown pretty fond of playing the battle mode for Eternal, and I come from a multiplayer background, as we talked before. With our meeting, Ryan and I, with Quake Champions, that was that's always sort of been my angle. I guess competitive multiplayer has been my angle. So I've been getting stuck a lot into the battle mode. So yeah, I guess entertainment and sweaty gameplay.
I tell you what, I definitely have to go on record and say that I've not seen anyone on Twitch be as innovative or crispy with those Stream Deck changes and all the stuff. But if anyone hasn't watched Spud's stream, do it and just watch and enjoy, because those transitions are ridiculous, but probably the most amazing thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, cheers. Just got to embrace the madness.
Yeah, it is. Madness is the right word.
So guys, on your first playthrough of the game, what weapon did you find yourself enjoying the most or relying on?
Who wants to take this? I'll let you take it. Oh, man.
Yeah. All right. So, I guess for me it was definitely the ballista. because the output of damage is just amazing when you get the combo with the super shotgun. And I guess it's a different experience on console because the weapon switching is much slower if they're using the weapon wheel. On PC, you can have just quick binds on your keyboard, and you're just flicking between the two. You're deleting things very quickly. So yeah, I find I guess that combo being my favorite, and the least favorite would probably be the microwave beam on the plasma. But I remember seeing one of your videos not long ago where you've embraced the actual fun of it in some of the lower difficulties. Like it is a fun mod to use. But in Ultra Nightmare or Nightmare runs, it's quite a liability because it's always sort of leaving you very mobile, I find. And
yeah, if you can die and not lose 5 hours of progress, then you can have some fun. You can have a little more fun with things like the microwave beam. But Ultra Nightmare is a different game, and I don't feel that weapons should be necessarily rated on how important they are just for the Ultra Nightmare run, especially because it's a small percentage of players who even get through level 1 or even attempt Ultra Nightmare. Right, and so it's always kind of bothered me, like where people would be like, "This mod is trash. You should never use this. You're supposed to use this." It's like, hey, look, if someone's having a lot of fun with the game and they're not complaining that they're not doing well, then let them go at it.
have fun.
My first playthrough. I mean, people have seen my channel. I'm all about the remote detonation mod. Because it complements my playstyle. I like jumping around and exploding the air over everyone's heads, and it works really well for me. And if I were at a point where I was like, this game is too difficult, I can't get past there, then it would be like, hey man, you should use this mod instead. But if someone's doing well with their playstyle, if someone is getting through Nightmare with ease using all full auto and microwave beam, I say go for it.
Hey man, I use because I guess we're all in a situation where I think most of us can say that although what we understand now of Doom Eternal's combat, most of us certainly didn't know about all of that during our first playthrough. There's always something or some things that you're missing. And for me, my first ever run was on Ultraviolence because I knew that Nightmare was like much harder, and Ultraviolence had like a healthy challenge for a first playthrough. So what I wanted to do was just experience the game and have some challenge approached. So it's obviously quite challenging at the start, and then near the very, very end, and then there's a big bit where you can kind of coast along once you finally got all the combat stuff figured out. But I actually used the microwave beam.
I did
especially
too.
In the earlier stages.
Right.
And I got to say, man, like on Ultraviolence, the microwave beam, when you get the Doom Hunter into critical damage and you melt him 100 to 0 with a microwave beam and he blows up, that's pretty satisfying. Like that was quite a satisfying moment. But yeah, so on the subject of what did I sort of use the most or rely on the most, it actually definitely came down to rocket and ballista quick switching. I was quick switching pretty much the moment I was playing the game.
That's interesting. I didn't start doing that till like my second or third.
Well, the only reason I did is because genuinely it's because I played so much Doom 2016's multiplayer, and I know that quick switching was actually, of course, it's a huge thing in the speedrunning scene for Doom 2016 because you have to swap to the right weapons and all the Gauss jumps and all that good stuff. It certainly wasn't multiplayer exclusive, but because I played so much multiplayer where quick switching was mandatory, because it was a loadout system, 2 weapons, and it was all about shoot, swap, shoot, swap, shoot, swap, and then building a loadout that is designed to, be the best you can make it. It fits your style, but if you can have a loadout that can delete, and it becomes a game of who's quicker on the trigger finger, similar to Doom 2 actually in that effect, where both players would have a super shotgun, and it's whoever gets that first, that first shot right, whoever's got the rhythm of it better. That's actually very similar in 2016 if you had like the static rifle and shotgun, and if you missed a single shot you were a sitting duck, but if you hit both of them you could just delete people. There was a huge emphasis on swapping weapons quickly, and that carried over instantly to Doom Eternal. And as soon as when you start putting on the quick switch, I can't remember the name of it exactly, but
Hot swapper.
That suit, hot swapper, that suit upgrade, it's It was huge and very self-explanatory, actually. If you'd done it in 2016, it worked almost exactly the same in Eternal. What I didn't use at all was the super shotgun or Meathook, to be completely honest, in my first ever playthrough. I was so focused on just rocket and ballista, just deleting everything that, and grenades too. Actually, I built into grenades really early. That I didn't discover the use of the Meathook and the movement that it provides until I think about halfway through my nightmare run, when I just discovered, by obviously watching other people and just figuring out just how vital that movement was. I didn't even have flaming Meathook until the end of the game, and now it's like mandatory in my opinion.
It's hard to like really get into it on your first play because you're not good enough. You're just not good enough to think that quickly and to be able to like, okay, I'm gonna swing on this monkey bar, rocket this guy, switch to my super shotgun, spin 180 and Meathook over to this guy and chainsaw him. Like you're just not, you're not even ready. Like I got myself killed all the time trying to use the Meathook because I was like, this is cool, but I would put myself in these horrible situations, and at that point you don't understand how much damage you're really doing. You don't really know that you can go to a Mancubus and go sticky bomb, rocket, and then Meathook super shotgun, and he's dead. Like you don't think in that flow yet. It takes a couple playthroughs, and then it comes alive, and it becomes, I don't know, maybe my favorite game mechanic ever.
There's like happy accidents that like people found with it as well. Like, whether it's by design or accidental, I don't know, but like there's like ways of manipulating the Meathook to like launch you straight up in the air as well, like giving you like a parabolic jump. Like if you were like, say you're in front of a Mancubus, you could just sort of like jump and then like land in front of him, and if you're aiming at a certain angle and plus forward, moving forward at the same time, hitting that Meathook and then jumping up literally just like launches you above the arena fight, and then you just dash away. You know what I mean? Like it's those moments where you get swarmed, you know. And
some players use that against the Gladiator too. I'm sure they do.
Yeah. It's all sorts. It's really good.
Yeah, I hop over the Gladiator's energy walls. I saw that in somebody's video. I think I saw it in your video. Actually,
I did do a tweet of that. Yeah. I found a lot of the hardcore speedrunners from your Bite Me to Draku, Zero Master. They don't tend to do it. They just literally just go balls to the wall, just damage him and delete him. But for those of us that probably weren't switched on, for us mortals, that's a good trick of getting out of that little hopscotch challenge that the Gladiator throws your way.
I love that he reacts to it too. Like they considered it. Like that. Like this Meathook stuff that people can do. Like they knew that people were going to be like, hey, there's going to be all kinds of crazy skips and things people can do, and they programmed it into his AI to where if you Meathook over him, he drops the shield and immediately charges. So if you're not fast enough, he hits you. It's great.
Yeah.
So I want to move on to, I got another question here. Is there, okay, so we talked about aspects of the game that you didn't appreciate on your first time that you played. Is there something that you really loved in your first playthrough and that you don't like so much anymore?
Oh, you know what? That's actually a hard question.
Yeah, it may not come to your mind immediately.
I don't.
Well, I can jump in.
If there is anything.
I didn't rate. Sorry.
You know, yeah, take it. A Discord delay is probably going to body all three of us.
Yeah. I'm from the future. Don't forget Australian. Sorry. I was just going to say, like, I remember in the, you know how we're talking about how, like, first playthroughs, you don't really pick up on things straight away. You know what I mean? I didn't appreciate the energy shield of the chain gun. I always thought it was like because I have a play style of like speed and killing things really quick. I was always using the quad upgrade, the minigun, and it's amazing how much that the energy shield takes in the boss fights. Like it's actually really important to use in the Gladiator and the Icon of Sin fights. It just like it can even take a fist from the Icon of Sin. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was one of the things that like I didn't appreciate at first. And the love-hate relationship that everyone has with the Marauder, I love it. I love a challenge. Like, the Marauder is awesome. I don't know why that got so much.
I think we're all on the same page. We're all on the same page with that.
It's because, like you said in your video, right? It requires you to. You're not just pointing and clicking on it. You have to think about your positioning. You have to time things. Unless you know some of the new memes, like throwing an ice bomb over its shoulder, and then the AI decides to just turn the other way around, and then you just do a quick lock with the rocket launcher. Outside of all these new memes that people have found to like delete him real quick, before we all knew that, it required you to position and time your shots and keep your eye on the prize while you've got all the fodder trying to tickle you around the sides, And
it's still your choice to play that way. Like, I know about the ice bomb trick. I don't use it because I just like fighting the Marauder.
Yeah.
It's actually quite funny to me that it's quite a mark of early Doom Eternal videos, because I've got this video on my channel, which was just a stream highlight. That's all it was. I'd done ultra violence and wasn't really challenged by anything. The Marauder, once you figure it out, was actually totally fine and only really becomes extremely powerful on a first set of playthroughs when you start tackling Nightmare, in my opinion. Yeah. Anyway, and I was doing my first ever Nightmare playthrough, and I reached that point near the end of the game where you've got the Marauder fight where there's a whiplash. And there's those like kind of pounders that on the right hand side, and there's a crucible ammo down there. So that encounter, I had no health, and at that point I hadn't practiced anything. So I was just doing it by like raw playthroughs. I hadn't touched battle mode. I'd only just finished ultra violence playthrough, so I didn't know any of the tricks. And at the time, because of the way it said hit him once, it basically mentions shoot him when the green thing appears, I always assumed at the beginning that I didn't realize that while he staggered, you get more shots, right? I was doing it one shot at a time. So clearly I was playing the fight completely wrong. But the point of the video was because I got no health and there's a whiplash and I just cannot figure out the fight at all. And I'm getting like destroyed. And it's like a 10-minute cut, a super cut of just this encounter that just never ended. But even to this day, even though there's videos upon videos of me just like melting Marauders now, because I figured it out, right? Like I know what to do now. I still, to this day, get comments of people saying like, "Oh, you clearly know nothing about this game. You don't know anything. You should watch." And they actually go, "You should watch Under the Mayo's vid."
Oh shit!
But it's like,
but you're not. The thing is, you're not complaining about them. You're just like
I'm having a laugh.
Yeah.
But it's always the funny thing that it's like, we will look back to those early videos in like a year's time and be like, man, things really were different back then. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The fact that that's already, God, how old is that video now? It's got to be
6 weeks, probably.
It's got to be about 6 weeks old, and already the amount of stuff we now know about dealing with the Marauder alone, the Marauder now becomes a demon that you worry about the least, because now I know if I'm doing a nightmare, ultra nightmare or something, then ice bomb, lock on burst, see you later, bro. Like that's literally all there is to it. And even then, like, you just get a gauge for, when he's far away, it's fair to assume that once he actually reaches attack range, he'll almost always do the attack unless there's demons around. I know there's a really awkward Marauder fight on the master level for Cultist base because he's surrounded by gargoyles. And their projectiles, he reacts to those and gets the shield up and shoots the dog and stuff like that. So like, my biggest gripe with the Marauder is I think he reacts a little too much to other demons attacking him, and it definitely throws off like the mechanical flow of the fight. But that's now I think the only complaint I have with the Marauder. Other than that, I genuinely really love. I think he looks cool. I think he's got a sick story. I think he sounds good. I think he's fun to fight. Like he's just a boss, man. He's
got the best line in the game. Cool. You are nothing but a usurper.
My eyes have been opened. It's so. I got chills when that guy first walked out. It was here's the counter. I actually like that he reacts so much to the other enemies because it causes the dog to spawn, and I think fighting the dog is fun So I always keep a charged heat blast just in case he comes out.
Yeah. Well, what I mean by that is like right as he go. The problem with it is like right as he goes and he's about to attack you.
Yeah, he blocks someone else.
Yeah. Right before he gets shot and you've swapped the right weapon, he'll then block someone else's thing and then absorb your shot, and then you take damage. I'm like, bruh.
But yeah, it makes you angry. But one point I've tried to make in some of my videos is that anger is great. You know, that like cheap enemies that just make you go, oh, you bastard, or like
makes killing him more satisfying.
Yeah, when you go in for that life-saving glory kill and a carcass puts a shield in front of your face from across the level and from another floor, it's just like, God, I don't know, it just makes me want to play more. Okay, so what do I got next on my question list? Sorry for the flow isn't exactly... Oh, real quick, does anyone have an answer to that question? Is there something that you really liked in your first playthroughs and that you don't really care for now?
Oh, I think for me, the Unmakeer, absolutely, is... I was actually really excited for the Unmakeer, and I don't know, there's just something about it where it just doesn't quite... There's something about it, and I can't put my finger on it, where it doesn't quite feel like it. I don't feel like the weapon quite lived up to the Doom 64 version, and I'm not even sure really why I feel that way. It's just not a weapon I find myself using much at all.
Sure.
Visually, I think visually I totally dig the direction they took the weapon in, where it kind of has the new visuals to reflect, you know, the final stages of the game, but. I was so hyped to finally get my hands on the Unmakeer, and when I finally used it, I was a bit like, maybe, and that was kind of it, and I haven't really used it since.
Maybe if it used like 35% less ammo per shot or something, it's so that you could more strategically use it without eating through all your BFG.
That's pretty much it, yeah.
It has a very, very, very specific use, believe it or not. So it's pretty much like a bit of a meme outside of this one moment in the game towards the end. So I think it's Necrovol Part 2.
I don't know what fight you're talking about.
There's an adrenaline, like a haste, and you pick that up, and then you use, the Unmakeer, and it's like, you know, Arnold Schwarzenegger, you know, with the minigun, you know, the chain gun, like, you just tear through that part of the map. It's the one with I think there's a couple Doom Hunters and it's like a very blue looking part of the map. But anyway, that's the only time I've ever really felt that had sort of a real, I guess, positive force in the game. Otherwise, like you said, it is pretty weak.
Is there anything? Well, one thing that I really liked in my first playthroughs and that I am not crazy about now is the hub world. I love the concept of it, and I think it's really good for the experience of Doom Eternal. But as someone who is repeatedly playing through the game and now on Ultra Nightmare, I just wish I could grab those upgrades as part of the next level instead of having to go back and run to the back of the ship and go down and go through the Ripitorium again. And like, it's a cool place, but I don't want to go there anymore.
Yeah, I can see it being a bit of a pain for speedrunners. That was actually going to be what I was going to bring up, in the sense that you can skip the majority of the cutscenes, the short cutscenes. But when it comes to the player hub, the Doom Hunter base, like when you're going for all the runes and popping in the batteries and whatnot, it just feels like very arduous because there's such slow slogging lock click. Okay, that's 1 out of 2. Next one, and usually like when you're doing your playthroughs, you bulk up on those and you do it all at once. So it's like it ends up being like a 10-minute process just to get all those, you know, those tokens and whatnot.
Man, the first time I played, then I started putting in those batteries, I was like, "Oh no, I'm gonna hate this on repeat playthroughs because the animation is just so long." It's like, just let me open the door.
Yeah. That was that's my
Small gripe.
Major
Small gripe. You know, it's not too major. Let's see.
You know what? I think that's actually what I love the most about Doom Eternal, and why, if you were to ask me, is there anything about the game you dislike? Like, I have to really nitpick to find something I don't like about the game.
Yeah, and the things you find are like very small things that just like occur here and there, right? Like, it's not like complaining about gameplay, right? If you have critique about how like combat or camera or something, or level design, like those are foundational arguments. But you know, saying that the purple goo ruins the game or something like that, it's like
barely in the game.
It's like it's barely there, and it happens for like 8 seconds. It's like I don't think anybody loves the purple goo, right? But to, like, finding little tiny things like that, like, it would be ridiculous for me to say that the hub world ruins the game.
No. When I say it was like my major thing, it's just like that's it. That's literally the big gripe for me, because it's just like it's a slow process. When it comes to the goo, like if those people that complain about the goo, if they literally like just watch any speed run, not even the world records, right? Any speed run, you can see that you pretty much can skip 90% of it. I think there's only one pool of goo that you can really get stuck in. Everything else you can get on a little ramp of terrain and be above it, and then dash onto something, and then dash onto another thing just beside the goo, you know, and get around it.
Yeah, there's little tricks.
Yeah, all you need is air control and your dash, and you pretty much already on a casual. On my very first playthrough, you know, I can't remember the exact map. I think it was on Ark Complex. I think the one where you kind of go into the sewers and there's goo.
I love that part. Like, that's the one purple goo part that I actually love, because like if you screw up, that Hell Knight is like right on you, and then after you get through that tunnel, you can kind of like Meathook air dash around. I think that's the only purple goo part that I actually really like.
But even on my first playthrough, I just had the air movement, and I had to do the faster recovery on dashes, and even without really knowing what was there, I just kind of naturally did the dash and instantly landed on the box. I didn't even have to bother with it. Like, basically, as long as you know how to use air control, you're pretty much laughing when it comes to goo. But yeah.
Do you guys have a preferred rune setup?
Better air control I always use, and the speed boost after glory kill, 100%.
Nice.
But other than that, like, you know, I think it's because I haven't really kind of rinsed the campaign as perhaps as other people, because I'm so battle mode focused. But I know that when I'm currently in the process of doing Ultra Nightmare, that I do the what was it? My memory's so bad, but I know as a base it's always speed boost after glory kill and better air control, and after that I believe it's getting a kill with equipment shortens its cooldown. I do use that a lot too, just to get, you know, more grenades and all that good stuff, because it's just so important for fights.
Spud?
Yeah, I always tend to use air control, and I guess that's because I have a Quake background as well, and I love, you know, I just love freedom of movement, and there's a sort of a bit of a divide in some of the Doom community where air control is considered useful or not. I personally love it, and I use air control and Chrono Strike. I didn't rate that if we're talking about how we embraced the game in the early days. I didn't rate it in the early days because I felt like it sort of, I don't know, it slowed things down too much. But that thing is really good to deal with a lot of the heavy demons early in the game, you know, the precision strike and whatnot. And yeah, Equipment Fiend. But now I sort of bounce between swapping out Equipment Fiend or Chrono Strike with Bloodfield to get that speed boost. So they're sort of my 4 go-to. And then having the saving throw up your sleeve, you just switch it on for the gladiator fight, because that's that one moment in the game where, you know, if you're not using speedrun strats where you just blink and delete them, that you could get caught out in, you know, hopscotch or something like that and have your night ruined.
Sure.
So
I just got past Gladiator on Ultra Nightmare last night on my next intent, my next try, but and he got the killing blow on me with saving throw activated, and then I killed him in the next shot. Like, he almost took me out right at the end.
Congrats, man. Congrats.
My runes are right now. I mean, air mobility, obviously. But after that, I really like. I'm using Equipment Fiend pretty often. Sometimes I use Fast Glory Kill because I just really like it. I Glory Kill a lot in the game, but I can't do without Dazed and Confused. That long stagger just saves my day. I love that you can shoot a group of enemies and two are sitting there in stagger, and you can just go about the rest of the fight and leave them there for a good 10, 12 seconds or 15 seconds, and they're still there just in case you need to come in for a glory kill. I really like that.
Oh, nice. Yeah, no, it's a good build to use.
Let's see. Let's get into a little bit of battle mode. I am not really a multiplayer guy these days. I didn't play Doom's multiplayer. I played a little bit of Quake Champions. I'm not the guy I was back in high school where I played a lot of multiplayer games. I'm much more an anti-social gamer. I like the single player. I play the campaign over and over and over. I haven't touched battle mode. I'm curious to try it, but I gotta be in the right state of mind when I finally jump in. But it'll probably just be to kind of look around and see how it feels, and then I'll go back to the campaign. But you guys are more focused on multiplayer. Ketchup, you specifically. Why don't you guys talk about it a little bit? Who are the players to watch? What kind of strategies are effective? Talk about the demon abilities. What do you like? What do you not like? Go for it.
Well, I guess I don't experience a lot of the American players too much because I sort of play in the Australian time zone, so I tend to get a lot more of the AU scene. And passionate, like I'm pretty passionate about playing the Slayer. I just love playing the Doom Slayer a lot. But when it comes to some of the best players I've crossed paths with, one of them in Australia would definitely be Sergeant Andrews. The guy plays a mean archvile. He's educated me on the shield use, dancing around that to get in a lot of damage or hemming in, you the Slayer in an area. It's I think it's possibly one of the most powerful demons in the right hands, the archvile. And yeah, the beauty of the game mode is that you could play as a Slayer and pretty much rip and tear like you do in the campaign. But when it comes to playing as the demons, you really have to have a lot of synergy with your teammate, and there's a lot of strategy there. And it can literally just be what could sway a whole game against a good Slayer is just a couple good decisions being made between two players communicating. And once you see that synergy, it's really good. At the moment, they're still refining a lot of the balance with the mode, but it's starting to feel really, really tight. Recently, they updated the game and changed the balance of the Mancubus on PC and increased the speed of his cannons and changed the damage that he receives from ballistas. And I've started seeing players experiment with like double memeing, like double building, double stacking rather, two Mancubuses on a demon team. And I was watching an American streamer, Tomatrix, play a couple days back, and he was versing two Mancubus. Yesterday, and he's versing two Mancubus, and it was interesting to see how they were now like really pressuring him with these long distance shots from the speed that they've added to it. And it's still, I think it's still an evolving game mode because there's so much to do with strategy and like selection of abilities and play styles, with the demons, especially with asymmetrical maps, So I find there is a lot to learn with it. It's not like there's like definitive like I find in Quake there is certain like rules that always apply, and in battle mode it's just so hectic with all the demons, the low tier demons being spawned and whatnot. There's just there's a lot to take in at once, and I kind of like that challenge.
It looks. I've watched some matches. As someone who hasn't played it, it looks intimidating. That's how much stuff is going on.
There is a lot of meta. That's why I brought up Quake, because even though Quake looks complicated, and there is a lot going on, there is like very specific. There's a very specific rule set that applies to that game between timing two major items, positioning for these major items, working with your stack and health. In battle mode, the speed of it is just it really is unrelenting. I don't see many times where you've got moments to breathe. Sometimes where it's just one demon's been taken out and the second one's left, they might be a marauder and have a bit of speed to like try and find a spot to hide, and they're a small character model or whatnot. But that's really it. Trying to wait for their teammate to respawn. Otherwise, it's very unrelenting. But the Friday night fights that Ketchup hosts, I think that's what's revealing some of the star players. There's a whole lineup that's been introduced every week, and I think there's a few standouts. Miss Heartbeat comes to mind. Flare to be. I'll leave that to Ketchup actually. Segue into that because you host that.
Yeah, man. I mean, ultimately for you to say that, that's just for us mission accomplished, because all we want to do is, oh man, like I'm not going to keep us here for too long, of course, but like the whole thing about Friday night fights is that Tokyo and I, Tokyo Punch Out as a community manager for Doom Eternal, we've known each other for a very long time, and we go way back to Doom 2016, where he used to run something with the New Classic clan at a community league that was called the Sunday Series, and that was every Sunday. PC clans would gather and play, and they would do a different tournament each week for different game modes, and then all come together and have like one big. I think they would often do team deathmatch. I can't remember if they'd change the mode or not, but there'd always be a sort of season finals for that month, and then they would do like a bonus free-for-all where the top fraggers of every team would then gather and then do a free-for-all for like a bonus kind of winner takes all prize as well. Shouts to Swan Song for winning some of those. Swan Song is a really insane free-for-all Doom player in general. He goes way back to like old school Doom in the world of competitive, and he was an absolute animal in free-for-all in Doom 2016. But ultimately, we've always really just enjoyed modern Doom's multiplayer, and we've been very much into trying to provide a kind of high-level competitive style experience, even if the game doesn't immediately kind of have like the kind of viewership tools just yet. Like, I don't know if they're ever going to add a spectator or something. I'd love it if they did, but with the game the way it is now, there's no spectator, right? So with Friday Night Fights, because it's 2 versus 1, we are in a position where we can create something, we can put something together. And what we do with the Friday Night Fights is we get 3 players in every week, and you'll find that a lot of really high level players exist. They kind of just exist on their own little discords, and they very rarely cross over with other players until Friday Night Fights, it seems, at the moment. But every player records their point of view across the maps they play. They can play as many maps as they want, but they submit us 3 maps, and more than often, we always try and stress to the players to record 3 maps in a row, because we don't call it a best of 3 because it's not a best of 3, it's just 3 maps. But we'd like it if it was 3 maps consecutively, so that it's as organic as it can get result wise. Like, we're not looking at it like 2-1, whatever it might be. Like, 'cause again, like I said, it's not a best of 3, but if they can at least play 3 maps in a row, like, that's great, because it's momentum from the previous map rolling into the next one. Any changes you want to make, you can see the changes more immediately. And as a commentator, I'd much rather watch 3 maps in a row than 3 cherry-picked maps. So ultimately, every player records their POV. It's then edited together, and their POVs are added as and when. and it's kind of like we have extra graphical elements that as like an overlay. Obviously, it's not the in-game graphics in any way. It's an overlay that we have, and it's all done with video editing, and it's created this spectator experience that if you're a fan of battle mode, you can tune into Friday Night Fights once a week and get this kind of viewer experience that you can't really get anywhere else. And to be honest, that's something that Tokyo and I have wanted to do for years with Doom 2016. I just feel like the two of us are much better equipped in Doom Eternal to finally do this. I mean, Friday Night Fights is very much a massive passion project for Tokyo and myself. And, sometimes it's not always perfect. There might be a couple of technical hiccups here and there, but we just have a good time, and we just want to celebrate the community and celebrate the players that are as enthusiastic about the mode as we are. And so far, so good. I'm really happy with every episode. And above all else, it seems like the battle mode community are also extremely behind it. I know that we always have id Software staff hanging out in chat, which is absolutely phenomenal, watching the devs support it as much as they do, and they pay a very, very close eye to balance, and they pay a lot of attention to Friday Night Fights, I think, because it's the highest level of the game being displayed. So if you're trying to look at balance and things like that, that's what you watch to get that information.
That's a great point. That's a great point. I didn't think about that it gives the devs a way to really like see how it's evolving and how the good players are using all the mechanics on a weekly basis so they can see it evolve. That's really cool.
Yeah, well, we look at the balance now, and the way the recent balance patch has changed it. So for those that don't know, the Ballista has gone through a few changes. It did 600 damage as a base first, and FYI, the Revenant has 2,000 health, just quickly to get that out of the way. So the Revenant has 2,000 health, the Marauder has 2,000 health, the Ballista used to do 600 damage per base shot. That was changed to 550, because you were able to do Precision Bolt for 400, Ballista shot for 600. That's half your life in a micro fast combo. And now the 550 Ballista means that you'll survive with about 50 health. That is enough fresh off spawn to get out and try and do something to get a fighting chance if you respawn. So Talented Slayer can still keep you separated if he gets one of you. But it's not as much I just look at you, blink at you, and you're dead. However, they've changed it again, so the Mancubus only takes 250 damage for a Ballista shot, because it was often seen as the weakest demon. Absolutely. I mean, it's hard to make a tier list for battle mode, but if you were to make a tier list, Mancubus would be right at the bottom, because it was too big, too easy to shoot, too prone to demon body blocks, its own demons blocking it off. And it didn't really serve a tank role, because you could just ballista it from miles away and never miss. And at close range, it just gets hit by grenades, SSG, rocket launcher. Like, it just didn't really serve much of a purpose. Although it's fun, it's not really got a competitive purpose. And now just having it be that little bit more resistant to ballista and giving it faster base projectiles, more damage on those projectiles, the Mancubus is better. It's certainly better. It hasn't become this overwhelming, overpowered, new demon, but it's definitely better than it was. But yeah, man, I don't want to take up too much of people's time talking about it, but
no, I think that's great.
It's something that I enjoy a lot. I mean, the elephant in the room, it is not Doom 2016's multiplayer. It's far from it, because they're different experiences. And I think this is there's certainly a divide in the community over which one they prefer. But I kind of went into Doom Eternal, like, you take one look at the battle mode reveal trailer and it's different. So you go into Doom Eternal just expecting. I kind of treated 2016's multiplayer as just something that I played for years. I mean, I played it more than a lot of people, right? Day one up until Eternal's launch, I was rinsing Doom 2016's multiplayer. So I feel like I've got a bit of a foot to stand on. But the reality is, you have to treat them as separate modes. And when you do, you'll probably find that you love them both. Because I can definitely say that I love both equally. And that's coming as someone who was actually very nervous that I would not like battle mode. I really liked the idea of it, but I have not been massively sold on asymmetric multiplayer games in the past. This is the first asymmetric multiplayer game I've actually enjoyed, and I more than enjoy it. I love it. It's the main thing I play at the moment, and I play it almost every night with my buddies at New Classic. Shouts to New Classic. And I think that you had to go into Eternal with an open mind, and if you expect it to be like 2016, you're just going to disappoint yourself, because you're expecting it to be something that it's not. And that's the biggest thing about battle mode, is that It is an asymmetric deathmatch experience that is far from TDM, free-for-all, all the stuff that you're probably used to playing in other games. It's just not that. So you can't go into it expecting that. But the reality is Doom 2016 is still there. Like, I still have Doom 2016 installed on my computer, so if I feel like doing Doom Deathmatch, I just turn that on and play that. I would love, like, for the record, I would absolutely love it if there was some kind of deathmatch in the future with just Slayers and stuff like that, because that would be, like, super sick. But I'm more than content with battle mode because it's just an interesting mode, and I've never played anything like it before. I probably won't play anything like it ever again, and it really feels like just this new thing that I don't think I'm ever going to get bored of it. Every map is different. No map is the same.
You brought up an interesting point about how it's its own thing. It's different. So that takes me to my next question, which is, what do you guys prefer about Doom 2016, and what do you prefer about Eternal? They are very different games in ways, right? Like, it could be hard to say which one you like more or which one is better because they play really differently. But is there something specifically that, a mechanic or something that you actually prefer in one and that you prefer in the other?
I think for me personally, it's very minute. I strongly consider Doom Eternal to just be a superior game. It's really hard for me to think of anything I think I prefer in 2016. And if you were to ask me, like, around launch, I think I'd likely open up a discussion over which areas of each multiplayer I preferred, because they're the ones I sink most of my time into. But it's kind of like, as I said before, I've just been sinking so much time into battle mode, and I'm just starting to discover so much about it that I just love them both. I mean, if you were to tell me which one do I prefer, I literally can't answer that question. Right. I love the two of them. But if you were to absolutely stretch my arm and be like, right, you got to pick something, probably the demon designs. I think I preferred the demon designs in Doom 2016. I certainly preferred the Revenant visuals. I definitely preferred how the Revenant looked, and there's quite a few demons. I actually really digged the 2016 Cyber Demon as well. But it's very minute, right? It's not related to gameplay or anything. It's just purely on a visual level.
Yeah, the question is open to something small like that. I agree with you on the Revenant.
Well, for me, it's not really indicative of the quality of Eternal. For whatever reason, I kind of liked the aesthetic a lot more of 2016, like on Mars, like the Mars base, and some of the levels like Foundry. It felt very, very gritty. Like, I don't know. Like, I do love Doom Eternal's levels. They're all amazing. But I personally have a thing for sort of like the gritty feel of the Mars base, and I guess, like, you know, you have a lot of those horror stories and movies and games where it's like you're there after the fact when everything's gone to hell, so to speak. And I really like sort of exploring the Mars base after everything's sort of been done and dusted. But when it comes to combat, Eternal has a lot more going on cerebrally. Like, you have to think about what weapons you're switching more, whereas in 2016 you could kind of just meme the siege gun and rocket super shotgun combo. Like, it felt like there were three weapons. You know what I mean?
Hologram, man. Hologram.
Oh yeah,
broke the AI.
And that too, yeah. Whereas in Eternal, it does have its metas still as well, but there is still way more going on. And just the thing of the equipment alone, like the ice bomb and the grenades, they're way more potent.
So it seems like you guys
it'd be combat, yeah.
Okay, so it seems like you guys have a couple of, like, aesthetic preferences in Doom 2016, but maybe in, like, some ways that the levels looked, or some demons. Ketchup, would you say that you prefer all of the old demons of Doom 2016 to their Eternal counterparts, or just some?
I think I prefer Mancubus in Eternal for sure.
Definitely.
I really, really dig the new Mancubus, and that's mostly because, like, I actually really loved the 2016 Mancubus as well, and it's just the Eternal one just ticks all the boxes. It's got that retro factor, but it still looks super hulking. Like, it doesn't look exactly like the Doom 2 one.
He looks
but it's
pissed.
pretty damn close.
He looks pissed.
His I like
face.
that permanent frown. I love the permanent frown. I do love it. And to be honest, actually, the Cyber Mancubus even has Doom 2016 vibes anyway. So it's kind of, I feel like Doom Eternal kind of has the best of both worlds in that regard.
Sure.
And I mean, I think Doom Eternal, I prefer the zombies actually of Doom Eternal as well. Nice. I liked the more smooth looking imps of Doom 2016.
Agree.
I mean, I preferred the enemy variety in Eternal, absolutely. It's just there's a couple of demon designs in 2016 that I prefer, but I think that's kind of what I mean by, like, if you were to ask me what I like, I have to like super nitpick to find that, because Eternal for me is just superior to 2016. I just prefer the combat. It's more deep, it's more sophisticated. You can use more weapons. In turn, Doom Eternal makes you better at playing Doom than 2016 did.
Oh, for sure.
It's, you know, I'm sure you highlighted that in one of your videos, which I agreed with 1,000%, is that Doom Eternal, like, to play Doom Eternal, like, you are forced to get good at it because of just how the game is built, like, especially on the higher difficulties. Probably not so much on like the super easy ones, but that's just for a different kind of player who's looking for a different kind of experience. There's nothing wrong with it by any means.
No, some people work 50, 60 hours a week and they want to come home and play a video game for an hour before they have dinner and go to bed. You know, that market exists, and that's very important.
I agree 1,000%.
It's been a very, like, the last decade, and there's nothing wrong with these games in the FPS genre, but like, there's been a lot of your Call of Duty-esque kind of shooters, which is sort of point and click. You know what I mean? And I feel like this is the first game in a long time that sort of harken back to some of the older style, you know, FPS shooters where, you know, there was a bit more emphasis on positioning and enemy types and weapon selection, you know, and the fact that this game is sort of forced is probably the wrong word, encouraged the next young generation of FPS gamers that played it to embrace this kind of gameplay, because it does seem alien to a lot of people. Like, you see people that have, you know, not played, you know, Dooms before, you know, streaming it, and they're, you know, it's like seeing a newborn fawn trying to walk, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's actually kind of cool, because I feel like maybe we'll see a lot more games in the mainstream part of the industry sort of inspired by this gameplay, you know, and it becomes a bit more of a thing.
You know, a point I wanted to bring up is, I think a good example of that is how the chainsaw works. Or this is a point I made, I think, in my ammo video, where I think a mistake that people make is that they burn through all their ammo, and then they're like, oh god, I have no ammo, now I need to stop fighting and run around and chainsaw someone. And that is not the way that the chainsaw was designed to be used. It's designed to be used in the flow of combat, right? And to where you just took out two big guys and you have a moment to breathe, Meathook over there and chainsaw that gargoyle, and take a moment to check if you have flame belch and check if you have grenades. Like there's a way to work it into the flow to where, like, I mean, I use chainsaw a lot when I play, less now because I manage my ammo better, but I still use a lot of chainsaw, but I work it so naturally into my gameplay flow to where, like, it just becomes second nature. And when you start finding that flow, the game just really starts to breathe and feel alive, when you stop being stubborn about how you're used to playing and how the game wants you to learn. It makes you better, it makes you smarter, it makes you enjoy the game more. I don't know if you guys see my point about the chainsaw there.
No, I agree. I mean, the reality is the chainsaw forces you to use more weapons.
Mm-hmm.
And when you use more weapons, you realize how, with the exception of big stretch, with the exception of, I think maybe the plasma, every weapon is incredibly useful all the time. I mean, and even the plasma is great for dealing with the shield guys.
Plasma is my go-to weapon. I spray that thing like commando. But that's a playstyle thing, though, you know?
Yeah, but if the chainsaw didn't exist the way it did, you would never have discovered the usefulness of everything, like absolutely everything that you use.
Yeah. Okay, so a quick little side question here going to Classic Doom. I got 2 questions about Classic Doom. Real quick, favorite Classic Doom enemy, and if you can think of one, favorite Classic Doom level.
For me, it would be definitely the Archvile. When we say Classic Doom, we're talking
Doom 1, Doom 2, Final
Doom
Doom.
2. Sweet.
Or
Doom 2.
hey, we'll include Doom 64 too.
Yeah. No, sweet. No, it's just because sometimes Classic Doom, they go, oh, you mean the original Doom? You know, like they get all precious for like Ultimate Doom. For Doom 2, the introduction of the Archvile, I feel like he's way more aggressive in the older games than Doom Eternal. Similar roles, but in Doom 2, if you got in an open area with a whole bunch of those, especially in like a thing they call slaughter maps, which is basically a sort of a genre of very difficult maps for Doom, and I play this WOD called Sunder by Insane Gazebo.
I've played that. That's really good.
Dude, how nutty is it? And that's why I brought up the Archvile, because he just throws them in everywhere. You know what I mean? So that is that, and the Slaughter Spectrum by Bridgeburner. They're my 2 favorite WODs, but I'd go with Sunder because I think it was like that's been developed for nearly like 14, 15 years or something mad like that. Like he's been adding to that like half my lifespan, you know. And I found a fun fact: the guy lives in the same state as me, and he bumped into my stream randomly, just randomly going through like Doom streams. And this guy has been this is the power of like and the magic of the Doom community and Quake and everything. It's just like to think this dude literally lives like a couple suburbs away from me is nutty. I've still yet to meet up with him, but I'm gonna make that happen very soon. And Sunder is, to anyone who's listened to this podcast and hasn't experimented with a lot of the higher difficulty WODs and the slaughter maps, you've got to try Sunder. I feel like people, they go on about Doom Eternal, Nightmare being one of the hardest experiences ever. Sunder is just insane. We're talking rooms with like 1,000 revenants, 50 archviles, and 1 pillar to use for cover. Like this is stuff like I don't even think like it isn't actually designed to be beaten, but if you do, somehow you've accomplished the impossible, and it feels like that. You know, it really does feel like some kind of I don't know, check mark you've ticked off in your life.
My favorite.
But that's my favorites big time. Yours?
My favorite WOD is Sunlust.
Oh yeah.
That one, that is a really epic WOD. And favorite old school monster. God, I might have to say the Archvile also. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to go with the Archvile. I just love how he changes the whole game board. Like everything's going fine, and then you hear or suddenly your screen is on fire, and you're like, wait, where is he? I don't even see him. And then 2 seconds later, it's over. It's like I just think that's great. I love those kind of monsters that make you rage and wanna beat up your keyboard, but not because the game is bad. It's because there's an enemy inside of a great game that makes you rage.
Yeah, I tell you, man, that's actually one of my favorite things about playing Archvile in battle mode, just because he makes all those noises. But it's like there's just something really satisfying in the fact that those noises are coming out of you this time, and it's like ooh. But it's you mentioned Sunlust. That is absolutely my favorite WOD, and I think it's actually quite a special one to me because my now fiance was girlfriend, now fiance, until unfortunately this COVID situation. You know, we were going to get married next year, I think was the plan, and I can only assume that this world situation has delayed everything. So that's definitely now a TBD, unfortunately. But one of my most, I guess, like precious recent gaming memories was the two of us playing through just a bunch of different Doom mods with different mods on. Like we played through all of Doom 2 with Brutal Doom, and we did the co-op. We co-opted those together where I was at my PC and she has a laptop with a little mouse mat, and we just sit there and just literally no life one of them in its entirety, and it takes us like all day and all night, but we get it. And
Sunlust is great with Brutal Doom.
I actually strongly agree with you. We did have a couple of like strange desync errors on some of the maps, but I guess that's it's so variable, the world of
that staircase. That there's some level near in the last third of it. There's some level where there's like this stair walkway that goes up, and then it goes left. And then there's these pillars all along the outside of it where a bunch of mancubuses spawn. And I don't know if you can visualize this with me, but I was there for months because I went in there with no life, and I had to like restart the entire WAD.
I mean, it's a absolutely fantastic celebration of just how creative the community can be for that kind of thing. And that was my partner's introduction to Doom, actually, and she absolutely fell in love with it because it was the co-op element. We're having a good time, just having a laugh with it. Brutal Doom on top just made the whole thing just ridiculous, and that was a really great experience, and that's definitely my favorite WAD. But also, actually, if you're talking about favorite demons and stuff like that, I actually think my favorite demon from classic Dooms is the Doom 64 Cyber Demon. I think that the Cyber Demon from Doom 64 is probably the most intimidating version of the demon in any of the games, in my opinion. There's just something about it that's quite lethal. Its rockets are insanely damaging. It can sometimes almost feel like one rocket, no matter how much health you've got, and you're toast. But it's also the visuals, how it sounds. Like when there's just something I'll never forget when I was younger, and even now you can get quite intimidated when you hear the cyber demon walking around by just the sound effect of its feet, but you can't see it. Is absolutely horrific in Doom 64. And you're asking about favorite levels. One of the levels that really kind of rinses that is one of the hidden levels in Doom 64. If memory serves, I think it's called Cat and Mouse. That map is ridiculously scary because it's dimly lit, it's very dark. The map starts you point blank right in front of a cyber demon that you can't see 100% because of the lighting, and you start off with just a pistol. So you need to run around the map finding the things you need to kill it while you can't really see it all too good. I mean, it's been a long time since I played that map, I will admit, but that was like one of my scariest experiences as a kid, was the cat and mouse. But in the game itself, even simpler in Doom 64, I loved as well, because that was my first taste at a young age about like arena combat in a single player shooter. And it was just, you get to see the Mancubus for the first time, and on harder difficulties, that level is just kind of ridiculous, and it's just all round like the classic Doom arena style, but in Doom 64 was really nice to finally experience.
You said you love the Cyber Demon, but I gotta ask, does he make the wah 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 sound when he points his missile launcher?
I don't think so.
Oh, no, then sorry, he's not as good as Eternals.
he just makes, oh god, he just makes the regular rocket sound effect.
Right.
So it's actually it's hard mechanically. It kind of makes him harder because you can barely hear that he's even firing at you, because the rocket launcher sound effect in Doom 64 is like, boom, boom. Like, you can't really hear it in Doom 64. And seeing as his sound effect is pretty much the same thing, it's actually very hard to tell. And the rocket is like, because the game is dark and gritty, it's really hard to tell when he's firing at you. So it's like, okay, well, I guess I'll just pray.
Do you guys like that that beeping sound that the Cyber Demon or the Tyrant makes in Doom Eternal? I love it.
I think it's great. The Tyrant in general was very intimidating in that, but because you just have more weapons, honestly, I think it's even down to small things that, I mean, you can freeze him. That alone makes him not as scary because you can deal with him. You're not forced all the time to endure when he's in a fight. You can remove him from a fight whenever you want if you have an ice grenade, and I can't do that in classic games.
Yeah. When that beeping sound that he makes, like I think a lot of people weren't even sure that was a sound that he was making. My first playthrough, I mean, I thought it was part of the music, and there's something I don't know, oddly brilliant about it is it kind of goes to the industrial nature of Doom's sound design and music, where of like using sounds that are not musical in in nature, but using them musically to where that music's going and you're feeling the flow of combat, and that cyber demon is there, and you just keep hearing that beep 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 as he's shooting missiles, and it just kind of like it flows.
Like it's the
it's
music,
rhythmic.
yeah.
It's got a tone. It's oddly musical, and I don't know. It's just like a really nice touch. Speaking of music, do you guys have a favorite Doom Eternal song? And do you have a favorite Doom 2016 song?
Mine would be the Super Gore Nest of Eternal. There's a lot of build up to the main riffs in it, and there's a lot of these winding guitars like going and then it just builds up to just the drums hitting in and all that kind of stuff, and it kind of feels, to me, it feels very much like Rip and Tear, which is my favorite from the 2016 game. So I guess that's probably why it's my favorite, because it obviously it sort of feels a bit similar in my head to 2016 Rip and Tear. But yeah,
isn't Super Gore Nest the one that's like like that really fast riff?
Yeah.
Nice, yeah.
Yeah.
Ketchup, you got one?
If it's Doom Eternal, I think BFG 10,000 for sure is my favorite track. It just goes so hard so immediately. It's kind of hard to sort of prefer any other track from the game when because BFG 10,000 it's so modern Doom, right? And
sure. Is that the one that plays on the Mars core level?
Yes, when you're trying to reach the BFG 10,000, it's when you're doing the ramp up. That's when it starts to play the most.
Okay.
And it's really good for use in videos because it gets people pumped. On a personal note, I actually really like the reason I've loved Doom music pretty much across the board, across all the games, is that listening to it is very motivating as a video creator. So if I'm making a video about Doom and I listen to the music from that game, no matter what the Doom is, even Doom 64, to be honest, it really kind of pumps you and motivates you and really gets you in it gets you looking in the right mental places to put together a video that you think people will enjoy for Doom. And it's always been that way. As long as I've made Doom videos, any of the music from the game has immediately inspired me to make something that I think is really, to me, really special. You
got a favorite song from the 2016 soundtrack too?
I can't remember most of the names. I'm trying to remember the name of it, but maybe it's this.
I'll slip it in for you. BFG Division. There you go. You know it.
What?
It's your favorite.
Well, I think it's this one. Is it? No.
Which map? I might be able to help
you. It is. Right? I got it. I thought it was the right one, but it's been a long time since I listened to it. It's a Transistor Fist.
Oh, nice.
It's honest to God, it is that moment which goes oh, that's the
comes in with those weird little synth breakdowns too, which is just sick.
It just breaks into that. There's just something about that one little bit every time, that because I'm so used to having it on passively in the background that I don't even, some of the names kind of just merge into one for me. I hope I'm not alone in that. But yeah, Transistor Fist for sure. I've always loved that one.
I know this is a tangent off the question, but I just wanted to bring up one fact. The one thing in Doom Eternal that sort of took me out, but in a good way, was the second to last map, Urdak, when you go to the Car Maker universe. When it's got that angelic chanting. That's almost my favorite, just because of how haunting it is, and it feels, it broke up the very metal atmosphere of the game for a moment to just sort of, I don't know, it felt very alien. Did anyone get that?
It feels very otherworldly, almost like synthesized children's voices filtered or something. It's really creepy and cool.
Yeah, I like this idea that it's like heaven, but it's definitely not heaven.
Yeah.
That is the Doom version of what that would be.
My favorite song from
something's not right. Sorry.
No, it's cool. My favorite song from Eternal, I might have to agree with you, Spud, on Super Gore Nest, but I just jam the only thing they fear is you, or the only one they fear is you. Like the main theme is just, it rocks, man. Like when I think it starts playing a lot in Arc Complex, and by that time in Ultra Nightmare, you start really feeling the flow. Yeah, you've got all your weapon mods, and I can start dancing in my chair as I play, and that's when I know that I'm starting to do good. And then that's when that song kicks in, and that song is just so good. It's such a great riff.
Yeah, man.
Such a great riff.
It was great for the trailer. Like, yeah, when it comes in with the drums at the end and it's doing all the quick cuts, you're just like, this game is gonna friggin' rock.
The Gladiator theme is really good too. But in the original of 2016, hands down, Flesh and Metal. It is so brutal, and I mean it's just like smashing your desk almost in like an arrhythmic way, and it's got all this wild industrial noise that's my thing. It takes me back to like Happiness and Slavery from Nine Inch Nails. I don't know how much you guys know Nails, but it's like just like industrial vomit, but rhythmic at the same time. It's so cool.
I'm trying to remember if Flesh and Metal was the track that had sounded like it had Doom 3 theme inspiration too.
Maybe it did.
It's that like that's the whole sort of introduction to Doom 3.
Right. I never made that connection. That's right.
Well, I can't recall if it was. I mean, knowing Mick, it probably was intentional because he always likes to put old throwbacks in his. I mean, go listen to any of his Killer Instinct stuff. Anyone that played Killer Instinct, the fighting game growing up, his work on Killer Instinct was spectacular for the new KI because there was just so much respect to the original source material, and that obviously carries over with Doom, and it's one of the things that made him so famous. But I'm sure I read somewhere. I mean, I know, don't trust everything you read on the internet, right? But it does sound like there's definite Doom 3 inspiration in the at least the beginning of it. But I could totally be wrong, but it sounds like it.
Yeah. Well, the fact that in the first trailers, not the first trailers, but the last ones that came out last year, that 30-second spot that uses one of the songs from Doom 3. So he definitely used some of it. Definitely. Let's see, what else we got here? Have you guys instituted any of your own personal challenges in any of the Doom games, but mostly Eternal? Have you gotten to the point where you like to limit weapon mods or not get certain upgrades? I guess, Spud, this goes more for you because Ketchup, you're more focused on battle mode at the moment, and this is kind of for something.
I'm still trying to get through Ultra Nightmare. I haven't quite reached that point yet.
I'm working on it too. I've been so busy with the channel that I haven't really been able to dedicate the time to getting good enough to do it. But
such a mood.
Yeah, but I'm starting to go hard on Ultra Nightmare right now. I still haven't made it through. I've made it pretty far a couple times, but I'm a very reckless, chaotic player with no patience, and I'm prone to making really, really bad decisions like that get me killed. But I'm still having a lot of fun with it. So Spud, I don't know how much you've put into the game to the point where maybe you're starting to put in your own limitations or try to make things interesting.
I did a fair few with 2016. I did what do you call it? Because I didn't specifically do speed running in 2016, and I felt like that had already sort of, people had already conquered the game, so I thought I might just have fun with it, on my stream. And I did a fair few attempts with like shotgun only, and I brought that into Eternal recently. And it's funny because of the limited amount of, I haven't actually finished the run. I've only just started it, and I've got a save on it. I'm about probably halfway through on it, but you have to sort of, I guess, ammo's a little bit more limited because I want you to swap around the different the weapon types more in Eternal. It's encouraged. You kind of like, in Eternal, with some of those challenges that you make up yourself, you end up sort of dancing around arena fights a lot slower, so it slows the game down a lot because you're constantly trying to chainsaw and get ammo up. But it's interesting to do little challenges like that for fun. I certainly really enjoyed it in 2016 because there was the way that game worked. It sort of lent to little challenges like that because you would, even without the chainsaw, you would constantly sort of get ammo back from a majority of demons that you'd kill anyway.
Yes. And your ammo capacity was huge.
Yeah,
huge.
Yeah. So shotgun only was pretty fun in that. But cool. Eternal, it's much more. It's still a fun challenge, but it can be a bit more arduous because you're constantly sort of dancing with a chainsaw. So it's like a chainsaw challenge, I guess, in a way.
Well, it doesn't need it. Like, I don't know if you guys have seen in one of my videos, I talk about a mode that I kind of came up with a few years ago called Brawler mode, where I took away most of the mods and weapons that allowed you to fight from far away. You kind of had to get more in their face and less ammo. You got to use more chainsaw. But the thing is, they implemented that already into Eternal. Like, you don't need to make it more interesting. I mean, maybe if you don't get the crystals to upgrade your health and armor to make it to where you can make less mistakes, I think that could be interesting. But I don't feel like you really need to limit your weapons to make it more interesting because it's already so damn dynamic, you know?
Yeah. No, the difficulty of Doom Eternal definitely. I mean, for me, I've only tried. I haven't even finished it yet. It's like I said, I'm halfway through on the combat shotgun meme. But I guess because 2016 was much easier once you'd mastered it a fair few times. Like, it lent itself to playing around with little meme setups like that, and I think towards the end, like if you're doing it on Ultra Nightmare, there's so many room, like spots, arena fights where there's room for error. You know what I mean? Because like there's a lot of demons that can. I still find the Hell Knights, they can launch at you at like unpredictable distances sometimes, you know, and I find I guess an Eternal without the ice bomb and some of the utility like that, where the game has been designed to keep them at bay with those items, that's why they put them in, does make it a hell of a lot more difficult. So I guess if you do end up being one of those speedrunners out there or players that just completely dominate the game, start trying out different things. I've started the combat shotgun meme. I'm halfway through, so I'll have to report back to you on how it goes when I get to the end or not.
you have to upload something on that.
Yeah.
Hell Knights can just suddenly ruin your day, even though you think you have a handle on them because you have the lock on mod or you got your combos, but then you don't see one coming and it'll just take so much of your life away. And gargoyles, man, I mean, people have seen my horrible, embarrassing moment where I spaced out and just panicked and
that wasn't even a space out. You literally turned around and it was like a jump scare out of a horror movie. Like, slap, then you're out.
It was like one of those indie horror games. Game over. Try again. Thanks for playing.
Well, it was just a lot of things altogether. I that carcass last second block on my entrance, it made me, you can hear how angry I was, and then I was just like, just get me out of here. And then I rushed the jump and fell and lost half my life. And then then that cutscene played, and then the gargoyle was right behind me. I didn't even shoot it. I didn't even have time to react. I was just dead. But no, man, those gargoyles, like Ultra Nightmare, you go in for like a glory kill. You on a Mancubus, you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get that Mancubus glory kill and get back some health, and boom, and then as soon as you get out of it, a gargoyle is right behind you, and he just locks you down, and you lose everything. They're vicious. I love them though. Hey, Ketchup, this question is for you. All right. So you came into the I guess the public video game scene with fighting games. I'm sure there's a handful of people listening to this who may know that you and me go back to Mortal Kombat 9.
A long time.
Right? Mm-hmm. I mean, we've been playing in MK for a long time. I got into it competitively with 9. You and your brother were playing Armageddon and all the games like that. And yeah, we didn't really talk till probably MKX when you picked up Quan Chi. And Quan has been my guy since MK4. I'm a devoted servant of the sorcerer, so we started talking a little bit, and I had my my tech videos that I made, and you got into making tech videos. So we talked a little bit there, but we didn't really start talking until, like, I guess, semi-regularly until Doom, when we see that we both really love this game too and love making content for it. You much longer than me. I mean, this is pretty new for me. I didn't expect my first video to be successful, and now I'm doing this. But you and your brother, you have a twin brother.
Yes.
You are Ketchup. He is Mustard. The MK community knows you as the Condiment Brothers. And so I have two questions. A quick one first. Does Mustard play Doom at all? And your second question is, does your history with fighting games influence your enjoyment of Doom Eternal? Like, I think the Marauder feels like a fighting game character because you have to play footsies with him. First, does your brother play? And second, does your history in fighting games influence how you see and how you enjoy Doom Eternal?
Okay, so first things first, yes, Mustard does play Doom. Not as anywhere near as regularly or as passionately as me, but he loves Doom. He really enjoys it. He played through, he got his playthroughs done on launch. We played some battle mode together. Had some pretty meme-filled day one battle mode streams together. We haven't played battle mode since, admittedly, because the thing about Mustard is, so those that are watching, if you know me for the YouTube, my twin brother Mustard is a streamer. He is the streamer of the two of us. And although we co-run the YouTube and Twitch as a joint brand, the Twitch is definitely his thing, and the YouTube is definitely mine. For the most part, he'll upload the occasional video to YouTube. And I'll do streams when I can. I don't want to take over his schedule, but my point is that he's a lot busier and plays other games. Like he enjoyed the hell out of Doom Eternal, and he loves it, and he's really enjoyed it. And he always keeps wanting to play some battle mode with me, but we can't just sync up times together. But I guess the easy answer for that question is yes. And we used to play loads of Doom 2016 together. There's a bunch of old highlight compilations where we used to just stream 2016 together all the time, and it would just put us in like unofficial 2v2 lobbies, 2v2 deathmatch, and we would just meme on people for a whole map, and it was so good. But the other question is, does my enthusiasm for fighting games influence my enjoyment of Doom Eternal? I mean, I wouldn't even say Doom Eternal. I would say other video games, and especially like fast-paced arena-style FPS. My love for fast and aggressive games definitely comes from fighting games, and when I'm thinking of FPS that I enjoy, it is exclusively fast-paced arena-style FPS that I like. Like, I can't get into games like Counter-Strike. I can't get into like Rainbow Six. I mean, I'm sure I can always give them another go and stuff, but it's not that I don't, by absolutely on the record, I do not think they're bad games by any stretch, and I respect what all of them do.
Let's get that out of the way right away. When anybody like involved in this says, "Hey, like I can't get into this game," that is not to say necessarily that is bad. I mean, maybe there are games that we say that are bad, but just because we can say, I can't get into this game, but if you can, great. It's just not for us.
Yeah, 100%. Like, do I think Volkswagen Beetle Adventure Racing on N64 is a bad game? Probably. But do I think that like Rainbow Six Siege? Like, hell no. I grew up playing Rainbow Six Vegas. I lived and breathed Rainbow Six Vegas for the 360 for many years. And games like Counter-Strike and stuff like that, like, it's not my cup of tea, but I respect the hell out of what the game... I respect its popularity massively, because clearly a bunch of people do enjoy it, because look at the damn player base every day. And also how much those games have done for the esports space. Like, they really put esports on the map. And without those games, the world of competitive would not be where it is today. So 100%, it's not that I dislike them, it's that they're just not for me. But more to my point is that it's just speed and like ferocity. That's really one of them that I always factor in, is like Doom and Quake and the old Turok games, back in the day. Like, they're fast games. Doom Eternal is lightning fast, and I love it. I love the fact that Doom Eternal is a million times faster than Doom 2016. The dash alone makes it like insanely fun for me, and then the meat hook is just this just got ridiculous in a good way. So when I play fighting games, my favorite kind of fighting games, that's what drew me to Mortal Kombat, especially the modern MK games. I know Mortal Kombat 11 is more focused on like a slightly more reserved style of play. It's not the kind of insanity that MKX was, but I love loads of old arcade fighting games. I love Third Strike. I love JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I love like the EX games where you could like touch of death someone in like one big combo. Like those games where it's like your life is on the line the moment that round starts because of just the amount of nonsense that the game has in it. I've always actually really digged those kind of games. I love watching Tekken for the same reason. I love Soul Calibur for the same reason. They're fast, very exciting, and everything I love visually about those games, like I can apply that to Doom and I can apply that to Quake, and I get the same level of enjoyment out of it, just in a different genre. You know what I mean? I know that's a bit of a long-winded answer, but absolutely yes.
Did you, for both of you, did you see yourself making content for Doom or Quake or for whatever game that you prefer? Like Ketchup, you got into this with Mortal Kombat, as did I, and I never imagined that I would be making Doom content, despite how much that game means to me. Like, you got into it with Doom 2016, but was that something that you knew you wanted to do even before you started doing it? And Spud, for you too, like, how did you get into making Doom content or shooter content, or how did you get inspired to make a channel and put yourself out there?
Well, I'll keep it short. I don't want to take away too much of Spud's time. I've been hogging it, but I guess the short answer is, to be honest, no. Getting into content was something that kind of just happened very naturally with Mortal Kombat X, and an audience grew from there. And then I realized that I really, really enjoyed making videos. I've always been a passionate video maker. Like I used to make Let's Plays when I was a teenager, you know what I mean? Like the really awful, just badly edited Windows Movie Maker 140p kind. But I mean, I've always enjoyed making videos, and making videos about things that I enjoy is always a treat because I just get to put my enthusiasm towards something that I like into video form. And if someone else is enthusiastic about it and they watch the video and they resonate with it and they like it, then I mean, that's all I can really ask for. In regards to Doom, I never really thought I would make Doom content. The only reason I made Doom 2016 content was because what I personally really wanted to exist didn't exist, and the big thing of it actually came from short and sweet, really snappy tutorial content, mostly lying within like demons and stuff. I looked up tons of tutorials while I was learning Doom 2016, and I couldn't find anything. There was basically nothing on the website for YouTube. So I kind of
you made yourself like a little niche.
I'm basically, yeah. There wasn't what I was looking for, so I thought, well, just in case someone else is looking for it, I'm going to make it. Yeah. And then my multiplayer tips and tricks series was born, which went down really well with people. And Doom Eternal was just kind of an extension of that, really. I have a lot less time now than I used to, so it's harder for me to squeeze videos in, but I do when I can, and it's a good time. I enjoy it.
Your tutorial stuff is really good. Like, it's like it's for a certain kind of audience. Like, I watched your Doom Eternal video on quick swapping, right? And like the way that you're able to break it down is really, really good for someone who is like, the concept is alien to, you know, like someone who's like, I had no idea you could even switch weapons, like, but no one has even ever explained it to me. And so I think that you have a really good talent for breaking down that kind of system and putting things together that can show someone something that they never even thought of. It's not so much about like, here's this crazy advanced tactic. It's more like, hey, did you know that if you switch these weapons, you can increase your damage output, and here's how it works. And you put it together really, really cleanly. And I think that it's done a really good service to, especially for new players.
I really appreciate that, man. I mean, my entire direction in pretty much any video that I make, and that editing style comes purely from my kind of video essay style, I guess, for lack of a better term. And that's mostly because, like, for those that are watching that watch me for Doom and don't really know what my other stuff is, my kind of bread and butter is video essays on competitive Mortal Kombat, mostly kind of going within the history of the game. I have a series that I'm very proud of called the MK Meta, where I go over. Series. I basically just cover old school Mortal Kombat games from like the old days that people don't realize there were competitive scenes for, whether it was online PS2 netplay, whether it was arcade culture. There were competitive scenes in every walk of Mortal Kombat, and I revisit those scenes and I interview those community members and I get all the information and turn it into to keep the history of competitive Mortal Kombat alive, because a lot of it is lost. And I put it in a video form where, from start to finish, by the time that video is over, you now know what this game was competitively. And now if you watch any random videos, you now know what you're looking at and can appreciate it. I kind of take that exact style into Doom. And I have some Doom ideas that I've been working on kind of mentally behind the scenes for a long time. And if I can ever bring those to light, I'm very excited for people to check it out. But yeah, like I said, man, my whole idea is I don't like making a video that just says 1 + 1 = 2. I like going a little bit more beyond and more focus on, okay, so we all know the absolute basic of the game, but here's a couple of small details that you might have missed that if you know it will immediately just transform your performance. And that's kind of like what I thrive on.
Yeah, like it's not 1 + 1 = 2. It's that this 1 and 1 makes 2 and this 1 and 1 makes 2. But did you know that 2 and 2 makes 4? Right? It's like painting those basics into something that can take you to a new place. It's really good. I kind of got started the same exact way that you did, where looking for something that didn't exist when in those early MK9 days, because the MK Mortal Kombat community was so like young in MK9. We were just getting started. No one had any idea what we were doing. Like, it took like 4 months for people to figure out that you could use a jab to anti-air someone. Like, it was ridiculous. Like Street Fighter commenters are in the YouTube page are like, you guys just figured out that you can anti-air jab someone. Like we didn't know what we were doing. And I wanted to make a tutorial for my favorite character, Quan Chi, and I was looking around for tutorials, and those early MK9 tutorials are just hideous, because it was just somebody with their 2011 cell phone on their CRT TV, talking out loud in the moment, no writing, and then they put like death metal music over it, and you can't hear anything, and they put text over the screen that's like white text on a light blue TV screen, and I was like, this is unacceptable. I was like, I'm gonna make a nicely produced video tutorial for my character, and it was like yours, like it was something that didn't exist, and I made a little Quan Chi video, and then suddenly the entire community is complaining that there's 5,000 new Quan Chi players online because everyone watched my tutorial.
It's all about growth, dude. Because the thing is, back in 2011, I was one of those cell phone recording talk over blurry ass.
Well, everyone was. I mean, we didn't know what we were doing. So, Spud, how did you get into making content? How old is your channel?
My channel would be about 2 years old now. My YouTube, I've only really started getting stuck into probably early February, late January. But I kind of do that on the side. Like, my primary focus is my Twitch live show. And I started that 2 years ago with Quake Champions. And how you ask, like, how did I get into it? I always kind of wanted to dabble with this stuff growing up, but like I don't want to do the whole sympathy card, like, oh, I'm just a poor boy, I need no sympathy. But like, as an Australian, I've always had crappy internet. I don't know if you ever heard all the stories about us and our national broadband network and whatnot, but like,
Layman, I watch Layman Gaming a lot, and they're always making jokes about how their internet is awful.
All right, well, you kind of get a picture that, like, basically, our internet infrastructure has been like rolled out over the course of what feels like my entire lifespan. Like, they planned to have this thing out like 10 years ago, and it took them that long to basically get what you'd consider
acceptable,
a bog standard internet, acceptable internet connection of American standards in like 2006. Up to now, we are so far behind. And it was only basically I was working my other job, and I saved up a bit of money, and I thought I'll give this a stab, and I ended up, because I saw some people streaming, I think, because it was Doom 2016 that got me like back into gaming again, because I had a couple years break to focus on life, and I ended up looking up some streams of the game, and it sort of exposed me to Twitch. And then I started tickling the idea of putting on a bit of a hammed up version of myself, a persona, and just being a bit of a clown with like competitive gaming. And the deep dive I made was getting mobile data internet, which is super expensive, but I had enough people donating to like balance it out. And yeah, just after probably about 6 months in the Quake scene, I sort of built up a little bit of a following, and I had a bit of love thrown my way from some of the competitive gamers like Rafa and Dahang from Team Liquid. And
some of the nicest guys you'll meet, by the way.
Oh yeah, it's super
great guys.
I see him as the godfathers of the scene. You know what I mean? Like they made me a made man. You know, it's funny that Rafa can do a perfect impression of Marlon Brando too. Spuddy, I give you this gift. But I love those guys. They're absolute legends. So I have a lot to owe them, because I was just sort of clowning around on there, and I did it for a laugh and a bit of fun. It was never any kind of like clear objective of like, oh, I'm going to do X, Y, Z. I just thought I'd do it for a laugh for a bit, and then it's just slowly evolved. And I'm slowly moving into doing YouTube content, but I haven't nailed it as much as yourself, Ketchup. Like Mario said, very very concise work there. But yeah, that's how I got into it. I do mostly a live show, and it's sort of focused of in the moment kind of content, and I'm slowly evolving it over time. But really, I just have Doom and Quake to thank for getting into this kind of content creation lifestyle. It's still a weird thing to say, like.
Yeah, it is, right?
Because it's like you both know this, because you come from Mortal Kombat, which is another franchise and game. It's ever evolving. You know, it's not something you just sort of, I do this and then that's it. Like, you've constantly got to grow and evolve with it, and that's the exciting part of it. It never gets stale, and I have Doom and Quake a lot to thank for, because it just sort of naturally happened. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't something like I thought, oh, I'm just gonna become a content creator. You know, I dabbled with it, and things sort of flowed from there.
All right. 2 more questions, and then I think we'll wrap it up here. How do you guys like the story? How much do you pay attention to the lore and all that of the new Dooms? I ignored it for like 3 years. I didn't care about the story. I'm just like, I'm here to kill demons. And then as Eternal started coming out, I was kind of like, what is this? What is this place? And I just dove headfirst into the lore, and I was up like for 3 nights just reading all the codex stuff and watching like Acid Glow and different YouTube channels talking about the lore. And now I'm just like 100% into it. I love the story. I love the lore. It's just awesome. How do you guys feel about it?
I certainly didn't care about Doom's lore until Eternal, because it was never a game that was really built on. I mean, it always had lore, but it was never the main focus. Right?
Yeah, it's like Argent Denure, Wraiths. Okay, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, like, I never really focused on lore for the game, because the gameplay was what got me hooked, and that was my focus, right? Was gameplay. And I guess it's coming from someone who my majority of 2016 was multiplayer too, sure. Which a bunch of the multiplayer maps did seem a little bit visually foreshadowing going into Eternal, which is always a nice little touch. Argent Breach being one of the main ones, where we started to get to see a little bit more of the other worlds, you know, that you don't necessarily see as much in the single player. But I know that when Eternal comes out and they're very vocal, they're like, look, we're putting a bigger emphasis on story this time. Like, the gameplay's still going to be there and you don't have to go into it, but those that want lore, there will be lore. So I was very excited by that, because I'm like, all right, man, you've got my attention. And the moment the game started, I found every codec, I sat and read every single piece. And although the cutscenes do try and very quickly give you the lore, just in case you skimmed over it, the lore, the logs and the stuff that you can find do such a wonderful job of just expanding on that. And although I didn't really care about the lore before, I certainly do now, and I really like it.
I wish there was more cutscenes, like like the Betrayer. Like, you just kind of meet him, and then he gives you the blade, and then is gone. And if you don't know who he is from the lore, then you're not gonna know. But even if you do know who he is from the lore, I was I wanted to see a little more with him. Maybe we'll get in the DLC or something
DLC,
like that.
Yeah, maybe DLC, man.
But I would be down for another 10 minutes worth of cutscenes, skippable cutscenes, but like I would be in for sitting back for 5 minutes after 3 huge levels to just take in story stuff.
You know what? A Doom movie with the lore of Eternal.
Oh, so good.
Come on, man. Come on. How sick would it be?
It's got the Rock in
it.
An animated movie on Doom lore would be so good.
I agree.
So good.
Make sure the Rock is back.
Yeah.
Yeah. A real BFG as well.
Yeah. I'll be real.
What do you call it? I was gonna say, yeah, I kind of like how they keep it sort of short and sweet, because like I like getting into the combat and all that, and the fun, what I liked about the lore they introduced with the Slayer himself, the Doom Marine, is that he's sort of been stuck in this eternal fight, with all the factions and whatnot, and I don't know about you guys, but there's people that seem to be like a little unhinged about him speaking in one of the cinematics. When he says guts, lots of guts, rip and tear, all that. I thought it was sick. I thought it brought like it sort of humanized the character a bit, in a sense that like he was once a man, and then obviously he'd been given powers from the Sentinels and whatnot, but now he's like this like tortured hero that all he knows is just to deal with the forces of evil. That's his job, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
he's now been stripped of even his humanity, from all the gladiatorial days and whatnot.
I like what he says. I think the delivery is a little cringy. The first time that it happened, I was kind of like, I had no problem with the fact that it was happening. But then upon my second playthrough, I was prepared for it, and I mean now I'm into it. That would be my only criticism about it. But like people being like unhinged about it, like angry, I think that speaks to a much larger issue that maybe is left for maybe an episode 2 of people like looking at a spinning fire platform and saying, "You've ruined the game," or something like that. But no, I like that he talks, and the fact that he talks has huge implications on the entire world. I mean, the fact that he mentions the demons is what caused everything, right? We have Argent Energy because of the Makers deals with hell, and they only know about the demons because of the Doomslayer speaking like a madman. I think it's fascinating.
Very, very laid.
So I got one more question here. Where do you see Doom going in the future? Is there something that you would like to see in a Doom sequel or in a Doom reinvention? Like art style changes, gameplay changes. What are you looking forward to? What do you predict? I'll go back 1 minute. One thing that I don't exactly like in Doom Eternal, I like it, but I do prefer it in Doom 2016, is the size of the levels. I love the epic levels, I really do. But they are so big that sometimes it's intimidating to just pick up and play the game for fun. Like Exultia is huge. The Cultist Split base is huge. Like you spend, even moving fast, you can spend 20 to 30 minutes in a level. And I think that's cool, but I feel like the game might have benefited from cutting a couple of the levels in half or something like that. That's just a small criticism. I'd like to see a return to maybe like a compromise between Doom 2016's level length and Eternal's level length. I would like to see that in the future. But for a sequel, I'm torn between whether they should keep evolving this formula for a part 3, or if Doom should go away for 6 or 7 years and come back as a whole new thing. I don't know. What do you guys see in the future?
Yeah, it's hard to. I'll let you take it, Spud.
Yeah, I think it was in the title. We had a bit of an eternal wait for Doom Eternal. You know, that ended up being 4 years, but like a just wait because the game is amazing. It's so lush with content. I'd prefer it not to have like the Call of Duty treatment where every year or second year there's another this, that, and the other. We are going to get DLC for it, and it does look like they're expanding on the Unmakeer universe, like Urdak, from recent screenshots. So it'd be interesting to see where they go with the DLC. But in the future, I think Doom will get another sequel because if you look at like the titles with Bethesda, Doom has been one of the most healthy titles I've had recently. You know what I mean? And the reception this game got has been really positive. You know, I haven't seen it be sort of polarized or anything like that. You know, like people do make mention of the difficulty and whatnot, but they've embraced it. You know, that was something I was scared of in the lead up to the release of the game. I thought maybe the world isn't ready for it yet or something. And yeah, I feel like the way they've gone with the lore of the game, they're not like pigeonholed into being stuck on Mars. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
I feel like they can expand the universe as much as they want, and hell, like we don't even have to go on Earth or see another human being. This could, they can just pull out another realm, out of the lore,
time travel,
and and dive that deep. You know what I mean? Go Rick and Morty style, alternate universes. But yeah, like I think there's still a fruitful future for the game. I know he's already got an arm blade and a shoulder cannon. I know it's like, are we going to put a jetpack on him next? What are we going to do? You know what I mean? But I still think there's a lot of room for creativity. They have a lot of brilliant minds in that office. There was a lot of stuff that was added into Eternal that I did not expect from the evolution from 2016. So yeah, Ketchup, take it away. I think that we'll see another one, but probably not anytime soon. This is going to be like at least 5 years down the track.
Sure.
I think
that's good.
I think it'll be a long while, and I think we're going to have a bunch of DLC before then. And DLC wise, I certainly hope they keep it to lore. And I actually wouldn't, with the exception of a couple of maybe like some enemy inclusions, like Chain Gun Guy would be pretty cool.
Oh man.
I think that honestly, like, they've got the gameplay in like the biggest of sweet spots. So I would very much like it if, like, DLC wise, they kind of keep things where they are. Like a new enemy or something would be totally cool, but obviously as long as it doesn't mess up the flow of combat too much. But obviously they know a lot more about that than I do, and I definitely trust them. But when it comes to like our own options as the Slayer, I'd like things absolutely to stay where they are, because with the movement the way we have it now, I honestly think that what we have is just bordering right on the edge of overkill in like the best way. But anything else, I think, would be too much.
Yeah, so like a third really grenade type or something.
Yeah, I strongly think that anything else would be a little bit too much. I think we have just enough, and
like an acid corrosive version of the flame belts or something like they don't need to put in any more mechanics.
Yeah. If that happens, I'd be like, part of me always feels like I'd just be, oh, you've lost me a bit. Like, I now I've got to juggle all this. I don't know. Like, obviously you can make it all work and stuff. I just feel like we've got just enough now for it to be like the biggest of sweet spots for me, and I'm certainly satisfied. But if they do anything, I just lore environments. I could totally look at some new environments. We've already seen actually We've already seen on the screenshots that were shared teasing the DLC. One of them looks like pretty much almost like a devastated Maker environment, which is insanely interesting. But then we also have, if you go to the other screenshot, it's like an oil rig, some kind of massive futuristic oil rig that's on the water. Like, that environment looks absolutely sick.
Yeah, that stuff looks impressive. I can't wait to get my hands on it. Okay, I'm gonna wrap it up with this this question that just kind of ties into this. Doom has existed in many forms, right? If you look at Doom 2016, where it's pretty serious, but still a little goofy, and then Doom Eternal went full like comic book, right, and just like crazy fun, but then there's Doom 3, which is dark horror and walking around with a flashlight. I feel that all of these are Doom. I don't think that Doom has a one way that it needs to be. If the next Doom goes even crazier and even more metal and comic book, I'm down. If it turns hard left and goes into a really serious kind of horror tone, and where it's really like bloody and just brutal, I'm also in for that. I think that they can exist in whatever form that they present it in. And is there a way that you would like to see it go? Ketchup, you first.
I think they've got a great formula now. I really think that changing it too much, I mean, who knows how we're going to feel in God knows how many years it would ever take to get another Doom.
Right.
Because I guess it's fair to assume another one will come, because we just have to go by how successful Doom Eternal was. But it's a hard question to answer, because I really, really like the formula they have here. And the whole thing about Doom Eternal was that it's Doom 2016. Kind of, even though it was coming back and we were all excited, there was still something about Doom 2016 that snuck up on everyone. I don't think we were quite ready for just how good Doom would finally be again. And I definitely want to say that's not to suggest the other games before it were bad. It's just, we all saw the Doom that never was, the sort of prototype version that got scrapped.
And a polarizing Doom 3.
Yeah, like I actually always really enjoyed Doom 3. I played it as a kid on Xbox Original was how I experienced it, and it was crazy immersive, very intense. I just actually loved the game, basically. I really, really enjoyed it. But there's no getting around the fact that Doom 2016 was just this insane smash hit that kind of happened out of nowhere to a lot of people.
Yeah, well,
not only is Doom back, but it's fantastic. And then Doom Eternal's whole thing was we're going to take Doom 2016 and just turn everything up to 11. But how do you turn up to 11 a game that has already been turned up to 11? That's kind of where I'm at. How do you even surpass Eternal without changing something significantly?
Yeah, definitely. Well, like you mentioned, with the prototype version of the game, 2016. I remember watching the NoClip documentary by Danny, interviewing the devs, and you could tell that they had made a lot of gambles with 2016 by trying things that weren't the norm at the time. So they weren't 100% sure how it'd be received, but they did play it safe in a few spots. And then once the reception was really it was warm and overly positive, they knew that they could double down on things. And with Eternal, like 2016 had like moments where it felt very Doom 3 visually and aesthetics. It wasn't like dark horror, but if you think some of the levels like Foundry and it took the best of all the the previous Dooms and put them in one. Whereas Doom Eternal felt very much, it felt very much like its own thing. Like it took 2016 and everything that worked in that, and yeah, like you said, Ketchup, Volume 11, and I don't know, like you'd have to completely change the whole game really to, I guess, take it in a different direction. I think a lot of people are comfortable with the combat and the atmosphere of Doom Eternal, and maybe they just want more of it. I mean, is it? I'll sort of bounce this question back onto you guys. Is it wrong to sort of want more of the same thing? Because if you think about Call of Duty, that franchise, how long's that been going? Everyone buying basically the same game and same experience for like 10 years. You know, I could do with another. I could honestly do with another Eternal. It wouldn't bother me if it was literally just a couple tweaks here and there. What if we've reached perfection? You know.
Hey man, I feel like sometimes changing something for the sake of it. Sorry, I'm sorry to keep stretching while I'm talking. By the way, it's I think sometimes you don't need to change something for the sake of it being different, right?
Yeah.
And never underestimate how good Legacy can be, right? And I know that's not popular amongst the more casual gamer market, and I get it, but as someone who has lived and breathed like competitive style games for almost 10 years at this point, Legacy isn't a bad thing either, because look at Tekken. Look at a game like Tekken, where Tekken 7 plays like Tekken Tag 2, which played like Tekken 6. And that whole Tekken community has just grown and grown and grown on what they know is Tekken, right? Mechanically. If you're more into the characters and stuff, it's different. But if you are a mechanical player, Tekken feels like Tekken. And there's a huge comfort there. When a Tekken comes out, you're going to get Tekken. And the changes are going to be details here and there. It might be different visuals, might be different characters, whatever it might be. And it will be a very refreshing experience to you, but it's still what you know as Tekken. And the second you start messing around a huge amount and you change this and that and this and that and this and that because you just want it to be different in the next game, maybe it doesn't feel so much like Tekken anymore. And then maybe, hang on a minute, maybe there's now a divide in the community. Maybe now the community is like, oh, this doesn't feel like Tekken anymore. And then you have a conflict, and you have people that feel a bit alienated because maybe they feel like they're going to continue just play the old game while everyone's playing the new game. Maybe they're going to feel a bit left out, but it just doesn't feel like Tekken to them. You don't always have to change things for the sake of it being different. And to really reflect on what you're talking about, Spud, I would be 1,000% happy if the new Doom plays like Eternal. Sign me up, day one, right now.
Meathook, right Flame Belch. Yeah. Well, guys, this has been a pleasure. It's been really, really good talking to you. I hope you guys have enjoyed it too. I hope the people listening have had a good time. And I just want to thank the guests, PND Ketchup and TheSpudHunter. And I'm Under the Mayo. Does anyone have anything they want to say before we call it?
Thanks for having me. That's all I got to say. It's always nice to catch up, and it's funny, really, how we've ended up in the Doom world together.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's neat, man. Video games are pretty cool. But yeah, thanks everyone for listening. Thanks for having me, and you can catch me on YouTube at youtube.com, and I'm PND KNM.
Yeah, absolute pleasure talking with both of you. Absolute legends. And Mayo, your channel's gonna pop off, mate. You're doing a great job with your content. Legit. Keep smashing it, man. And this podcast was a whole lot of fun. And yeah, it's cool. Some cool ideas brought to the table too. But yeah, thanks for having me. And I guess my handle's TheSpudHunter. So if you like my rambles, go check out my my socials, Twitter and Twitch. And yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure, man.
Excellent.
Actually, before we finish up, I completely forgot. This is a great opportunity to remind everyone that every Friday at 7:30 p.m. ET, Friday Night Fights, Doom Eternal Battle Mode. You can find it on the twitch.tv/Bethesda. Tokyo Punch-Out and I host weekly community high-level Battle Mode exhibitions, really showcasing the best gameplay in the business. So if you do like Doom Eternal and you do enjoy Battle Mode, tune into Bethesda Twitch, 7:30 p.m. ET every Friday for Friday Night Fights, and hopefully you stick around and enjoy what you see. Cheers.
Excellent. Everyone do that. I'm going to hit stop on this video and we can say goodbye. All right. Thanks for listening, everyone. And all right. Have a good day.